You didn't put on that cologne for a standard client meeting, Marcus.
Danielle said, her shoulder leaning heavy against the dark mahogany frame of our bedroom door. It's just an ordinary Monday, I replied, adjusting the collar of my gray suit jacket. We have the quarterly regional review at 9 sharp. Everyone dresses up.
Dresses up. You bought that shirt 2 days ago. Since when do you care about Egyptian cotton for 9 a.m. spreadsheets?
Since I took over the Henderson account. Look at me, Danielle. I'm running a team of 6 draftsmen now.
Or maybe you're trying to catch the eye of the new regional director.
She snapped, her fingers tightening around her forearm.
What's her name again? Vanessa.
Vanessa Kirkland. And she's my boss, Danielle. Nothing more.
Right. A boss who happens to be 34, single, and running the entire firm.
She was hired to fix our firm's profit margins, not to evaluate my wardrobe, I said, picking up my leather briefcase from the chair. I've been at Whitmore & Associates for 6 years. I put in 80 hours a week so we could afford the down payment on this house in suburban Chicago. I'm not playing games.
You think I'm blind, Marcus? I see how you look in the mirror before leaving. You never used to care this much.
I care about keeping my job, I said, walking toward her in the doorway. Can we please have one morning without a trial?
It's not a trial if you're acting guilty.
Guilty of what? Wearing a clean tie?
Guilty of looking for an upgrade.
She yelled, her voice ringing off the hardwood floor of the hallway. That's unhinged, Danielle. I'm late. I have to go.
Walk out that door then. See if your new boss gives a damn about your loyalty.
I grabbed my car keys off the kitchen counter and left without another word. The drive to the office was silent, the morning commute through downtown traffic doing nothing to clear my head. For 6 years, my routine had been absolute precision. 6:30 morning alarm, 2 cups of black coffee, 40 minutes on the interstate, and 10 hours at a drafting table designing commercial facades. Whitmore & Associates was a mid-sized firm, stable, corporate, and predictable. My life was built on predictable foundations. When I stepped into the lobby on the 14th floor, the polished granite floors reflected the cold fluorescent lighting above. I walked straight to my corner desk, setting my coffee cup down next to a stack of blueprint revisions.
Morning, Marcus.
Built like a house, Senior Associate Dave called out from his cubicle across the aisle.
Ready for the Kirkland grilling.
As ready as I'll ever be, Dave, I said, sitting down in my leather office chair. Did she review the Henderson schematics yet?
She's been in her corner office since 7 a.m.
Dave grunted, tapping his computer monitor.
Word is she cut 2 senior designers at her last branch for lacking initiative. Don't look sloppy.
I don't plan on it, I said, staring at my reflection in the dark monitor screen. My phone buzzed on the desk. A single text from Danielle sat on the screen. Don't expect me to keep waiting around while you build a life without me. I turned the phone face down. The sharp accusation from the bedroom still echoed in my ears, heavy and poisonous. I thought it was just another senseless flare-up of unprovoked jealousy, a bad fight to kick off a long week. I had no idea that her bitterness wasn't about my new shirt or my boss at all. It was the first quiet crack in a house that was already burning from the inside down, and the real damage hadn't even begun. The firm is hosting a networking mixer downtown this Friday night, I said, setting my water glass down on the table. Danielle's fork stopped halfway to her mouth, her eyes fixing straight on mine.
A mixer.
Yeah, just an informal corporate gathering at the Glass Lounge on 5th Street. It's meant for department heads.
And I suppose spouses aren't invited to this little gathering.
She asked, her voice dropping an octave, dead and flat. It's an internal event, Danielle. It's strictly for staff and cross-departmental partners.
Is Vanessa Kirkland going to be there?
She's the regional director, Danielle. Of course she's going to be there. She's hosting it.
Then I'm coming with you,
she said, setting her fork down with a sharp clink against the ceramic plate. Danielle, it's not a date night. It's strategic, I explained, leaning forward across the dining table. It's a chance for me to be seen by the corporate board members from the East Branch, the people who actually control my promotions.
I don't care about your promotions, Marcus. I don't like the idea of you drinking in some fancy lounge without me.
It's work. I've worked 6 years at Whitmore & Associates to reach senior architect level, and these mixers are where decisions get made.
Then it shouldn't be a problem for your wife to stand next to you while you make those decisions.
Bringing a spouse to an closed-door director event looks completely unprofessional. Nobody else is bringing their partners.
I don't give a damn about what looks professional to your precious firm.
She snapped, her pale face suddenly flushing red.
You think I'm stupid. You've been coming home late every night this week.
Because I'm managing the Henderson blueprint revisions, which I told you about 3 times.
You're dressing differently. You're hiding your screen when you type. And now you want to spend Friday night in a glass lounge with your female boss.
I am not hiding anything, I said, my palms slamming against the wooden table. I am trying to build a career so we can pay off this mortgage.
Then you can build it with me standing right beside you.
She replied, her voice turning icy cold.
Because I'm coming along on Friday, whether you want me there or not.
You can't just crash a firm event, Danielle.
Watch me, Marcus. Try to stop me at the door and see what kind of scene I make.
Why are you doing this? I asked, staring at her in total disbelief. What happened to you?
What happened to me is that I married a man who thinks he can slip away into a new life while leaving me behind.
That is complete paranoia.
It's not paranoia, it's self-defense.
She whispered, her eyes wide and fixed on mine. The overhead kitchen light fixture let out a low, persistent buzz, filling the heavy silence that followed. Neither of us backed down. I looked at the woman sitting across from me, searching her face for any trace of the person who used to support my ambitions, but found only a stranger looking back with cold defiance. I thought she was fighting so hard because she was terrified of losing me. I genuinely believed her jealousy was just a toxic, misguided form of love, and that if I proved my loyalty, the storm would pass. I had no idea that her sudden demand to enter my professional world had nothing to do with saving our marriage and everything to do with destroying it. The glass-walled event space on the top floor of the 5th Street Tower overlooked the glowing skyline of downtown Chicago. Soft jazz hummed through unseen speakers, mixed with the polished chatter of executives and senior staff. I stood near a pillar, holding a club soda, trying to look composed despite the knots twisting in my stomach. Danielle had shown up 20 minutes after me, wearing a deep red dress that cut through the room's muted corporate tones like an alarm bell. I scanned the floor, looking for where she'd wandered off to, and found her near the floor-to-ceiling windows. She wasn't standing alone or looking uncomfortable. She was standing barely an inch away from Arthur Vance, a 52-year-old senior regional director from the commercial development branch, a man known for his aggressive corporate acquisitions and lavish lifestyle. Danielle threw her head back, laughing at something he said, her fingers resting lightly on his forearm. Arthur leaned in closer, his thumb brushing the fabric of her sleeve as he whispered something into her ear. My stomach dropped into a cold, sickening pit. I set my glass down on a passing waiter's tray and marched across the hardwood floor. Danielle, I said, my voice quiet but forced through clenched teeth as I stepped between them. Excuse us for a second, Arthur. Arthur offered a smug, relaxed smile, stepping back smoothly.
Of course, Marcus. Your wife was just telling me about your sudden interest in late-night office work.
I grabbed Danielle's elbow, not hard, but firm enough to steer her away from the crown, and pulled her toward the quiet alcove near the coat check. What the hell are you doing? I hissed under my breath, my face inches from hers.
I'm networking, Marcus.
She spat back, her eyes flashing with defiance.
Isn't that why we're here? To make connections with people who matter.
You're flirting with a married senior director from commercial management.
He was paying attention to me, something you haven't done in 6 months.
You insisted on coming here because you claimed I was being unfaithful, and within 20 minutes you're hanging all over Arthur Vance. I whispered fiercely, the anger burning hot in my chest. This is humiliating, Danielle. It's out of line, and it's completely unhinged.
What's humiliating is watching my husband beg for scraps from his new boss while pretending I don't exist.
She shouted back, her voice rising above the quiet murmur of the alcove. Keep your voice down, I demanded, glancing nervously over her shoulder. People are looking. A couple of senior associates near the bar turned their heads, their conversations lulling as they took in the scene.
Let them look.
Danielle snapped, stepping closer into my personal space.
Let everyone in your precious firm see what kind of cold, selfish prick you really are.
Danielle, stop it right now, I said, feeling the heat rise up my neck as my professional reputation dissolved in real time. You are destroying everything I've built here.
Good.
She sneered, her breath smelling faint of wine.
Maybe then you'll finally look at me.
I stood in the dim light of the coat check, trapped under the gaze of my colleagues, realizing with absolute horror that the floor was falling out from under me. I thought she was lashing out in a desperate plea for my attention. I had no idea that Arthur Vance wasn't just a stranger she had met 5 minutes ago, or that every word she screamed was part of a calculated trap meant to strip away my livelihood piece by piece. I walked over to the drink table at the far side of the room, my hands trembling as I poured myself a glass of ice water. My blood was boiling, the humiliation burning hot behind my eyes.
Rough night, Marcus.
A sharp, clear voice asked from my left. I turned to see Vanessa Kirkland stepping up to the bar. She looked pristine in a tailored cream suit, her sharp gray eyes observing me with a mix of curiosity and professional concern. Just taking a minute to catch my breath, Miss Kirkland, I said, forcing my voice to remain steady.
I couldn't help but notice the commotion near the coat check.
She said quietly, leaning against the edge of the mahogany table.
Is that woman over there your wife?
She isn't, I muttered bitterly, the sheer frustration blinding my judgment. Not after what she's pulled tonight. The words had barely cleared my lips when I felt the air freeze behind me. I turned around sharply, and my stomach instantly dropped into a cold, bottomless pit. Danielle was standing less than 2 feet away, her mouth open in absolute shock, her face pale with pure, unbridled fury.
Not your wife.
Danielle screamed, her voice cutting through the jazz music like a straight razor.
You tell your boss I'm not your wife.
Danielle, wait, I gasped, raising my hands.
You pathetic, lying bastard.
She shrieked, stepping forward. The entire glass lounge fell dead silent. Heads snapped toward us from every corner of the room. Before I could move, Danielle lunged past me, snatched a full glass of Cabernet from a nearby cocktail table, and flung it straight at Vanessa. The dark crimson liquid splashed across the front of Vanessa's cream blouse, soaking into the pristine fabric and spraying across her collar. Vanessa gasped, stepping back in absolute shock as the red stain spread down her suit. Danielle, I yelled, mortified.
Go to hell, both of you.
Danielle spat, her body shaking as 30 senior executives stared at her in utter disbelief. I grabbed Danielle by the upper arm, ignoring her furious resistance, and physically hauled her through the crowd toward the glass doors. Whispers erupted behind us like a swarm of hornets as I dragged her down the hall and shoved her into the elevator. Neither of us spoke a word as the steel doors closed and the elevator plummeted toward the basement parking facility. When the doors opened, I dragged her out to our sedan, unlocked the doors, and shoved her into the passenger seat before slamming it shut. I marched around to the driver's side, got in, and slammed my door so hard the glass rattled. The underground parking garage was dead silent except for the low rumble of the engine, the harsh glare of fluorescent lights, and Danielle's ragged, heavy breathing beside me. I gripped the leather steering wheel until my knuckles turned stark white, my heart pounding violently against my ribs. 6 years of hard work, late nights, and sacrifices at Whitmore and Associates had just been incinerated in 10 seconds. I stared straight ahead at the concrete wall, realizing with sickening clarity that my life had just completely derailed.
Don't you think denying your own wife in front of your boss was a pathetic trigger that brought that wine splash upon yourself?
I was terrified of losing my career, so I said the dumbest thing possible out of pure panic. It taught me that hiding from the truth or disowning your reality only blows the fire straight back into your face. The morning sun filtered through the blinds, casting pale, cold stripes across the kitchen island. A black cup of coffee sat untouched between us, wisps of steam rising into the heavy air. Danielle sat across from me, her eyes red-rimmed, staring down at her folded hands. I can't do this anymore, Danielle, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, flat and drained of all emotion. I am completely done tolerating the accusations, the screaming, and the public humiliations. What you did last night destroyed 6 years of my life.
Marcus, please.
She began, her voice cracking. No, listen to me. I interrupted, leaning forward. You threw red wine over my regional director in front of every board member in the company. You made me look like an absolute joke. I can't live like this. I won't. Danielle's lips trembled, and then the armor completely broke. Tears spilled over her eyelashes, running down her pale cheeks as she squeezed her hands together.
I'm sorry.
She sobbed, burying her face in her palms.
I'm so sorry, Marcus. I don't know what's wrong with me. I've just been having such a hard few months. I feel like I'm losing you, like I'm completely invisible to you.
You aren't losing me because of work, Danielle. You're pushing me away,
I want to fix this.
she said, wiping her face with the back of her hand and looking straight into my eyes with a raw, desperate plead.
I love you. I don't want our marriage to end over a stupid job.
It's not just a stupid job, it's my entire career,
Then prove that I matter more than Whitmore and Associates.
she blurted out, her tone shifting sharply from helpless grief to a sudden, striking demand. What are you saying? I asked, frowning.
Quit.
She said flatly.
Resign from the firm. Put your notice in today.
Are you insane? I stared at her, stunned. You want me to resign?
If you stay there, working under that woman after what happened, every single day will be poison for us.
She insisted, her tears drying up as fast as they had come.
If you really love me, if you want to save this marriage, you walk into Vanessa Kirkland's office today and hand in your resignation. We start fresh. It's the only way.
We have a mortgage, Danielle. We have bills, health insurance, plans.
We will survive.
She snapped, reaching across the table to grab my wrist.
Or does your pride matter more than your wife? Choose, Marcus. It's the firm or it's us.
I looked down at the mug in my hands, the dark liquid motionless. The room fell into a terrifying silence. On one side stood 6 years of relentless sacrifice, the late-night designs, the promotions I had bled for. On the other stood 6 years of marriage, the vows I had made, and the woman I had promised to protect. I sat there in the quiet kitchen, paralyzed by the impossible choice, saying absolutely nothing. The afternoon sun blazed through the floor-to-ceiling glass windows of the corner office, illuminating the dark cherrywood desk where Vanessa Kirkland sat reviewing blue line schematics. The front of her blouse was crisp and pristine today, showing no trace of last night's disaster, though the air in the room felt heavy as lead.
Marcus,
She said, raising her head as I stepped inside.
I'm glad you came in. I was just reviewing your designs for the West Side complex.
Miss Kirkland, I said, my chest tight as I stepped toward her desk. I'm not here to talk about the West Side project. I'm here to give you my formal resignation. Vanessa's pen froze midair. Her brows pulled together, confusion clouding her sharp gray eyes before instantly dissolving into outright disbelief.
Your resignation.
She repeated, setting the pen down slowly.
Marcus, if this is about last night, take a breath. It was a chaotic, awkward scene, yes, but it was a minor embarrassment at worst. It's certainly nothing worth losing an architect of your caliber over.
It's not just about last night, Vanessa, I replied, forcing my voice to remain rigid, holding back the storm inside me. My personal life has become incompatible with my position at this firm. I need to walk away.
Are you out of your mind?
Vanessa asked, leaning forward, resting her elbows on the polished desk.
You've spent 6 years building your reputation at Whitmore and Associates. You are next in line for the commercial director track.
I know what I'm walking away from.
Then reconsider.
She pressed, her voice sharpening with genuine concern.
Think about this logically, Marcus. You're handing over the Henderson account, the West Side Urban Renewal contract, and 6 years of senior credit. You're throwing away your entire career trajectory over an emotional reaction.
My decision is made, I said, staring directly into her eyes, refusing to let my posture break. I appreciate everything you've done for me since taking over, but I can't stay.
I am asking you a second time, Marcus. Don't do this.
Vanessa said, standing up, her hands planted firm on the wood.
Whatever is happening at home, destroying your professional life isn't going to fix it. Stay. Take a week of paid leave to sort things out, but do not throw your hard work into the gutter.
I don't have a choice, I muttered quiet and flat. I reached into my breast pocket, pulled out my silver corporate security badge, and placed it gently on the center of her glass-topped desk. The metallic clink sounded like a gavel falling. Thank you for the opportunity, Miss Kirkland, I said. Without waiting for her to respond, I turned on my heel and walked out the door, the heavy oak entrance shutting softly behind me.
Well, I'm throwing away 6 years of hard work just to appease a toxic woman, a complete act of cowardice, not devotion.
Honestly, it cuts deep. But you're right. I called it love, but it was just desperate control. That moment proved to me that sacrificing your self-respect for someone who doesn't value you will never, ever save a broken relationship. The orange glow of brake lights stretched for miles along the interstate, casting red reflections across my windshield. I gripped the leather steering wheel until my hands went numb, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Every mile away from the downtown tower felt like pulling a needle through my chest. 6 years of 70-hour work weeks, the framed design awards sitting on my empty office shelf, the Henderson blueprint I had poured my soul into, all of it left sitting on Vanessa's desk alongside my silver ID badge. I did the right thing. I muttered aloud to the empty car, my voice trembling over the hum of the engine. A career can be rebuilt. A marriage can't. When I walked through the front door, the silence of the house felt almost sacred. Danielle was in the kitchen, slicing fresh vegetables on the cutting board. She looked up, her expression soft, a faint, tentative smile gracing her lips, a warmth I hadn't seen on her face in over 2 years.
Did you really do it?
She asked softly, setting her knife down. I handed my badge to Vanessa. I said, setting my keys on the granite counter. It's done, Danielle. Whitmore and Associates is in my past. She stepped forward, wrapping her arms tightly around my waist, burying her face into my chest.
Thank you, Marcus. You have no idea what this means to me. I promise you, things are going to be completely different now.
And for a few weeks, it genuinely felt like the storm had cleared. Danielle was lighter, attentive, bringing me coffee while I sat at the dining room table firing off applications to smaller regional architecture offices. She cooked. She laughed at my dry jokes, and the suffocating tension that had ruled our home vanished. I have an interview with a mid-sized firm out in Naperville next Tuesday, I said one evening, looking up from my laptop.
That's wonderful, honey.
She said cheerfully, tossing her coat over the sofa back.
You're too good for them not to hire you.
Where were you tonight? I asked casually, noticing the clock on the wall read nearly 8 p.m. I thought your shift at the gallery ended at 5.
Oh, just traffic on the bridge.
She answered smoothly, walking past me toward the kitchen.
And I had to drop off some paperwork for a client.
I watched her set her cell phone face down on the counter the exact second I leaned forward. It wasn't the first time. Over the past 10 days, I'd caught the quiet click of her phone screen turning dark whenever I walked into the hallway. I noticed her sliding into the spare bedroom to answer hushed calls, her voice dropping to a whisper before stopping altogether when my footsteps approached. My stomach tightened into a familiar, nauseating knot, but I forced my eyes back to the computer screen. I swallowed the rising bitterness, burying the suspicion deep down in my gut. I had just burned my entire professional life to the ground to give this woman peace. I couldn't drag us back into the hell of mistrust, not after everything I'd sacrificed. The front door swung open into a dark hallway, the quiet house smelling faintly of damp autumn air. I flicked on the entry light, my jacket slung over my arm, and froze. 2 heavy hardshell suitcases sat side by side on the hardwood rug near the door frame. Danielle stepped out from the living room, wearing her long navy trench coat, her purse strap slung neatly across her shoulder. What is this, Danielle? I asked, setting my keys down with a slow, unsteady hand. Are you going somewhere?
I'm leaving Marcus.
She replied, her voice smooth, level, and entirely devoid of heat.
I'm taking a trip with someone else.
I blinked, staring at her face, searching for a trace of a joke, a tease, anything. Someone else? What are you talking about?
A real man.
She said, giving a small, careless shrug of her shoulders.
Someone with actual ambition and power. Arthur Vance, if you really need the name.
The floor beneath my feet felt like it suddenly tilted. Arthur Vance, the senior director from the Mixer? The guy you were hanging all over.
He's taking me to Miami for 2 weeks.
She said plainly, pulling her leather gloves over her fingers.
And when we get back, I'm moving into his place in the city.
Are you insane? I yelled, my breath catching violently in my throat. You made me quit my job. You sat at our kitchen table, cried, and swore you wanted to save our marriage if I walked away from Whitmore.
Oh, please, Marcus.
She sighed, rolling her eyes as if explaining basic arithmetic to a child.
I needed a place to stay for a month while Arthur cleared out his second property and finalized his separation. You were convenient. You paid the mortgage, you cooked, and you kept out of my way.
Convenient. My voice cracked, raw and bleeding with shock. I threw away 6 years of my life. I destroyed my reputation. I threw my badge in Vanessa Kirkland's face because of your psycho, jealous routine. I ruined my entire career for you.
You ruined your career because you're weak.
She spat, her eyes turning cold and dismissive.
You thought throwing away your job made you a hero? It just proved you're a pushover. Arthur would never burn his livelihood for a woman. That's why he's a vice president and you're sitting in an empty house filling out job forms.
I loved you, Danielle. I roared, stepping toward her, my fists clenched so tight my fingers trembled. I gave up everything.
And that was your choice.
She said coldly. Without another word, Danielle leaned down, gripped the handles of her 2 suitcases, and wheeled them past me. The metallic click of her heels hit the entryway floor. She opened the front door, stepped out into the chilly night, and pulled the door shut behind her. The lock clicked into place with a sharp, final snap, leaving me standing alone in the dark, suffocating silence of my empty hallway.
Looking back, didn't you ignore every red flag just because your ego couldn't handle admitting the marriage was already dead?
I was blind because I desperately wanted my massive sacrifice to mean something, so I swallowed my pride and looked the other way. It was a brutal lesson that forcing yourself to trust a liar just makes you an accomplice in your own destruction. 30 days of legal quiet can strip a man down faster than a decade of hard labor. The divorce papers came first, crisp and clinical in their legal phrasing, followed swiftly by court-ordered mediation sessions and the low, grinding rumble of moving trucks idling along the curb outside my building. Danielle's attorney had been ruthless, carving through our shared assets with surgical precision. She took the mahogany dining set, the leather sectional from the living room, and exactly 50% of the cash sitting in our joint savings account. By the time the final signatures dried, I was living in a small, third-floor apartment on the north side of the city. The living room contained nothing more than a folding metal chair, a single lamp sitting directly on the hardwood floor, and 3 cardboard boxes filled with my remaining clothes. It was a Tuesday evening when the rain started, a heavy, relentless downpour that drummed against the glass windows. I sat on the metal chair, staring at the blank beige wall opposite me, holding a cold paper cup of water. My life felt utterly gutted. The silence was broken by 3 quick, firm knocks at my front door. I frowned, setting the cup down, and pulled the door open. Vanessa Kirkland stood in the dimly lit hallway. She wore a dark, tailored rain trench dusted with glowing droplets, her sharp gray eyes cutting through the shadow of the doorway.
You're a hard man to track down, Marcus.
She said, her voice steady and controlled above the sound of the rain outside. Vanessa? I blinked, holding the edge of the doorframe. How did you find this address?
I'm the regional director of an architecture firm. I know how to pull public filings when I need to.
She replied, stepping into the narrow foyer without waiting for an invitation. She looked around the empty apartment, her gaze sweeping over the bare floorboards and the lone folding chair.
So, this is where you've been hiding.
If you came here to pity me, you can leave, I said flatly, my chest tightening with defensive anger. My personal disaster isn't your business.
It becomes my business when it impacts my firm.
Vanessa cut in sharply, raising a gloved hand to stop me.
I know everything, Marcus. I know about Danielle, and I know about Arthur Vance.
I froze, the blood draining from my face. What?
Word reached my desk 2 weeks ago about Vance's little Miami excursion with your ex-wife.
She said, her tone icy and uncompromising.
Conduct unbecoming of executive management, ethics violations, corporate liability, and an appalling lack of judgment. I signed Arthur Vance's termination papers on Friday morning. Security escorted him out of the building before lunch.
I stared at her in dead silence, the weight of her words sinking into my chest like an anchor.
Arthur is gone.
Vanessa continued, stepping closer to me.
And now I have a senior director opening and 3 major urban projects falling behind schedule because I don't have an architect with your skill level to run them.
I resigned, Vanessa, I said quietly, looking down at the bare floorboards. I handed my badge back to you.
And I kept it in my desk drawer.
She replied instantly, pulling a silver object from her coat pocket and holding it out between us. It was my old corporate security card, the surface gleaming under the amber bulb of the hallway light.
You blew up your life for a woman who didn't deserve a single second of your loyalty, Marcus. But your work, your talent, that belongs at Whitmore and Associates.
I don't know if I can just step back into that building after everything that happened, I muttered, my voice cracking slightly.
You can.
Vanessa said, her gaze fixing onto mine with unwavering steel.
Or you can sit in this empty room on a metal chair and let her win completely. The choice is yours. The position is open, and your desk is exactly as you left it.
I looked from the silver badge in her palm to her clear, unblinking eyes. The long, suffocating silence of the past month seemed to stretch between us, heavy with the weight of my mistakes and the sudden, improbable chance to reclaim my life. I took a deep breath, reached out, and pulled the silver badge from her hand. I'll be in at 8 sharp tomorrow morning. Vanessa offered a subtle, satisfied nod, adjusting her collar.
Don't be late. We have a mountain of blueprints to review. The client loved the revised structural layout.
Vanessa said, taking her eyes off the road for a second to glance at me. That's because we stayed up until 9 p.m. redrawing the load-bearing walls. I replied with a light chuckle, resting my arm on the leather door armrest. The rain had cleared, leaving the night streets of Chicago slick and reflective under the streetlights. Driving home in Vanessa's sedan felt completely different from the tense, stifling rides I'd endured with Danielle for years. There were no hidden accusations, no bitter silences, just an easy, mutual respect that felt remarkably natural. Vanessa smoothly pulled her car up to the curb in front of my apartment complex.
Here you go. Get some sleep, Marcus. Tomorrow we present to the zoning board.
Thanks for the ride, Vanessa, I said, unbuckling my seatbelt and opening the door. As I stepped onto the damp pavement, a figure stepped out from the shadows near the entrance steps. It was Danielle. Her hair was frizzy, her mascara slightly smudged, and the designer coat she wore looked rumpled. She stopped cold, her eyes locking onto me, then darting to Vanessa sitting in the driver's seat. Disbelief flared across her face.
Marcus.
Danielle gasped, her voice trembling as she rushed down the walkway toward me.
What are you doing in her car?
Danielle, I said, my tone flat, standing my ground. What are you doing here?
Arthur lost his job, Marcus.
She stammered, reaching out to grab my sleeve, her eyes wild and desperate.
He kicked me out. I made a huge mistake. I was confused. I wasn't thinking straight. Please, Marcus, talk to me. Give me another chance to fix us.
Before I could answer, the passenger door opened. Vanessa stepped out, her tailored coat crisp, her posture immaculate.
He's given you far more chances than you ever deserved, Danielle.
Vanessa said, her voice completely even, quiet, and absolutely final.
It's over. Leave him alone.
Danielle recoiled as if struck, staring at Vanessa with pure shock.
This isn't your decision, Vanessa.
I looked at Danielle, at the desperation, the frantic entitlement, the total lack of genuine remorse. The hold she had held over my life evaporated completely in that single second. I didn't utter another word to her. I simply turned my back, opened the passenger door, and sat down in Vanessa's car, pulling the door shut with a heavy, solid click. Vanessa slipped back into the driver's seat, shifted into drive, and pulled away smoothly, leaving Danielle shouting my name into the empty street behind us as we drove off together toward Vanessa's apartment. The spring air blowing through the open window carried the crisp scent of fresh rain and blossoming trees. For months had slipped by in total peace. Danielle's name hadn't crossed my lips or graced my phone screen once since that rainy night on the curb. She had vanished from my life entirely, a dark storm that had finally cleared off the horizon.
You're staring out the window again, Marcus.
Vanessa's warm, familiar voice called out behind me. I turned around, leaning back against the sleek glass desk. She stepped into the sunlit office holding 2 mug cups of black coffee, her smile genuine and relaxed. Over the winter, what started as professional survival had grown into a deep, unshakable bond built on mutual trust, shared ambition, and an effortless, quiet respect. Just thinking about how much can change in 6 months, I said, taking a coffee cup from her hand.
Well, change is official now.
Vanessa replied, leaning against the desk beside me and handing over a crisp leather binder.
The board signed off on the restructuring this morning.
I opened the folder to find my name printed in dark embossed letters at the top of the official corporate announcement. Marcus Reed, Regional Director of Commercial Development. It was the exact office, the exact title, and the exact desk once belonging to Arthur Vance. The very position my ex-wife had chased after had been handed to me, earned through relentless work and absolute integrity.
Congratulations, Director.
Vanessa said softly, raising her mug to mine. Thank you, Vanessa, I replied, the porcelain clinking softly between us in the quiet room. I looked around the expansive corner office overlooking the city skyline. The weight of the betrayal, the guilt, and the sacrifice I had once carried was completely gone. The old foundation had crumbled, but standing here beside a woman who truly valued me, I knew I had built something infinitely stronger in its place.
Well, I feel sorry for the main character and the fact that he just like that gave up his career for a family that had essentially already fallen apart. As far as I'm concerned, there was a lack of respect in the relationship between the main character and his wife. There was none at all. So, what was the point of this relationship? If I were in the main character's shoes, I would have focused on myself and my goals instead of deluding myself until the very end, hoping that this marriage could be saved. Something like that. See you later.